Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Family Law Talk.
Family Law Talk.
Presented by Kirk Stange of Stange Law Firm, PC. With offices in the Midwest. Stange Law Firm is a family law firm. Now, here's your host, Kirk Stange.
Welcome to Family Law Talk. We have an important topic today. The topic is the necessity of legal research, and this is based on an article on our blog, familylawheadquarters.com. And the title of that article is Legal Research, an Important Part of Family Law, and the date of this article is September 24th, 2017. So as a follow-up to this episode, you can definitely go on over to Family Law Headquarters, check out the article. If you're on Blog Talk Radio, there's also a hyperlink under the description of this podcast today that you can click, and that can take you directly to the article as well. But let's go ahead and jump on into the topic. Again, the topic is legal research and the necessity of it. And here's really the deal in a nutshell. Lots of individuals oftentimes believe when they hire an attorney that their attorney is basically, right, a walking and talking encyclopedia of law. In other words, the viewpoint, think of many out there, especially people that are looking to hire an attorney, is that their attorney ought to know everything, in essence, right? They know everything right off the tip of their finger. So if there's a legal question that they have, the attorney ought to just sort of spit out an answer in a robotic manner, like almost sort of computer-like, where they just know the answer to everything right off the bat. And that perception, in a lot of ways, right, it makes sense because when people hire an attorney, they want somebody who's competent, they want somebody who's knowledgeable, they want somebody who's experienced, and certainly any attorney who practices in a particular area of the law and who has done so for a period of time, right, they do learn some things, right, and there are some really basic fundamentals of the law that an attorney, probably knows or probably should know, right, but the reality of the situation is that a lot of the questions clients have are fairly unique, right? Not everything is cookie cutter. There are oftentimes specific questions that might be unlike or different than other fact patterns that maybe an attorney has experienced. And I'm even talking about an attorney who's been practicing a long time, right? Any attorney who's been practicing a long time will have some cases, and these cases might have some similar features, but then walks in the door a unique fact pattern or a fact pattern that is a little bit different than something they've seen before, right? So not everything is cookie cutter. Not all cases are exactly the same, and not every client question is simple and easy, right? A lot of the client questions out there can be quite complex, and it's not a situation where an attorney can just really be expected to know the answer right off the top of their head, and they certainly can't predict the result and what a judge might do because there's some, at the end of the day, a lot of discretion judges have and some potential ambiguities in the law. And so let's sort of break this down in more detail. When you get into family law and really other areas of law as well, right, there's laws out there. In the legal field, we call these statutes, right? And statutes are legislation which are passed by state legislatures, right? And they're ultimately signed into law by the governor of a particular state, right? So when we're talking about Missouri, when we're talking about Illinois or Kansas or whatever state you listeners might be in, right, there's statutes, there's family law statutes, family laws out there that are basically codified in your state statutes, and this really sort of formed the foundation in terms of the way divorce and family law matters are handled, and certainly it sets forth the laws that courts are supposed to follow in terms of resolving divorce and family law cases, right? Here's the reality, though. So a lot of people in hearing that think, okay, so this is pretty cookie cutter, right? This is pretty black and white, right? Judges just sort of apply the law in this sort of rigid format, and every fact pattern, right, falls right specifically into a law, and the law itself is just crystal clear, right, not really subject to interpretation, and the courts just apply it, and there you go, right? The reality is that just isn't really the case in a lot of circumstances, right? Not every statute, listeners, is clear on its face, right? One attorney or judge can read a statute, right, and come to one interpretation of it, and another attorney or judge could read it and really have a different interpretation in terms of how it applies to a specific fact pattern out there, right? So statutes are not perfectly written, right? A lot of statutes have some ambiguities to it, and it requires the courts to actually interpret it when applying it to specific fact patterns. And this, in fact, listeners, are what judges do in cases, right? In a divorce and family law context, judges ordinarily issue written judgments, right? And really the depth of this and the findings that a court has to make is going to vary based on the state that the case is in, right? Different states have different requirements in terms of the findings of fact and conclusions of law a judge has to make. But judges in judgments, right, will find the facts in essence, and then applying the laws to the facts, will issue a written judgment. And a lot of these written judgments, have the judges applying the statutes to the facts on hand, right? And so the judge will read the statute, apply it to the case, and this becomes what's called case law, right? And then a lot of these cases get appealed up to the appellate court or perhaps the state Supreme Court, and then the appellate court to the state Supreme Courts can either affirm what the trial court did. In other words, they believe that the court applied their discretion appropriately and that there wasn't an error as a matter of law, right? But sometimes courts can reverse the decision of the trial court, right? And as family law attorneys, we see this, right? There are cases that come out and cases that come out regularly where the trial judge decided a case one particular way, and then the Court of Appeals or the state Supreme Court reverses that decision of the trial court, and they might find that maybe the judge abused their discretion or that the judge erroneously or misapplied the law. And obviously the exact language of this can vary based on state statutes and in terms of the verbiage the judges choose to use. But the reality of the situation is case law is really important and really necessary to family law because case law shows how courts have ruled in the past and in terms of how courts have applied specific statutes in the past, right? And so a lot of the listeners out there might think, wow, this seems in a lot of ways sort of really theoretical, sort of law school class oriented. What does this mean for me? And help me understand how legal research is then going to help me. Well, again, go back to what I was talking about at the beginning of the episode, which is a lot of times clients have specific questions in terms of, what do you think a court might do with my case? What do you think would be the best possible strategy, that we could formulate in order to present this case in an effective way? And again, what attorneys oftentimes have to do with a lot of these questions is say, client, that's a really interesting question. That's a really interesting question. And based on what I know now, here's generally what I think, right? So, when you're trying to predict outcomes as an attorney, you can't because judges have a lot of discretion and different judges can do different things. But sometimes as an attorney, you can present a potential best, worst, and then middle case scenario for a client, right? And then in terms of strategies, again, you can sort of generally give a lot of clients what your strategy would be off the cuff. But again, what attorneys really need to do, and this is really part of the piece of a lawyer being competent and diligent, is they have to do legal research, right? Back in the day, and I know a lot of lawyers' offices are still set up this way, right? There are books on the shelves, right? And a lot of clients out there wonder, what are in these legal books? I see this bookshelf, and I see rows and rows of books. And what is all this? In a general sense, obviously the books a lawyer chooses to have in their office can vary, but I'd say two of the most common things lawyers have on their shelves are, one, the statutes, which is what I referenced before, and then two, case law. And the case law interprets the statutes, right? In other words, the case law shows a lawyer what judges and courts have done in the past in applying a fact pattern to a statute, right? And so doing case law research really, really critical and a really important part of a lawyer doing their job. And so to the individuals out there who have divorce and family law cases, again, lawyers have to do research, and lawyers are not walking, talking encyclopedias of law, and new cases come out regularly, right, which can sort of change the analysis. when a new case comes out, especially a new case that might come out that could be significant, right? And so lawyers do have a duty and obligation to do legal research, and clients out there shouldn't be offended by that fact, right? Again, clients, oftentimes assume lawyers should know everything, and they don't have to do research, right? But good lawyers do research because it will help that lawyer in terms of formulating a potential strategy and really advising the client such that the client can make informed decisions along the way, right? So legal research critical, legal research important, and certainly to the individuals out there going through divorce and family law matters, you want a lawyer who's up to date, right? Who keeps himself up to date, right? By reviewing new cases that come out. Now, obviously today, more and more lawyers, right? You're not going to see the books on the shelves, right? Lawyers today are able to do most of their legal research online through different research software that's out there that lawyers can access. But some lawyers still use the books as well. But again, really the moral and the premise of this episode, it's the point I want to make sure that I'm making, is that legal research is important. Legal research is vital. And individuals going through divorce or family law matters, when you see that your lawyer is doing legal research, you should embrace it and think that ultimately is a good thing, because it shows in most instances that you have a lawyer who is dotting I's, crossing T's, keeping themselves up to date, and formulating an effective strategy for your case. And that is always the hope and the goal behind doing legal research. And then certainly as well, presenting that legal research to the court can oftentimes really be helpful as well in terms of persuading the court in terms of the outcome that a particular client might be seeking in a case, right? So legal research important, legal research necessary. Certainly lawyers who practice in a particular field of law are going to know a lot of statutes and a lot of cases off the top of their head. But it's not a circumstance where any client can really expect that their lawyer knows everything, and that at the same time they shouldn't be doing legal research. Legal research is exactly what most lawyers need to be doing in order to effectively represent clients in divorce and family law matters. So again, that is the topic today. As a follow-up to the episode, go on over to familylawheadquarters.com. Check out the article titled Legal Research, an Important Part of Family Law. Well, thanks for tuning in. Stay tuned for our next episode of Family Law Talk coming up. Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to Family Law Talk with Kirk Stange. Visit StangeLawFirm.com for more about today's topic, or to put Stange Law Firm to work for your family today. The choice of a lawyer is an important decision that should not be based solely upon advertisements. Neither the Supreme Court of Missouri or Illinois reviews or approves certifying organizations or specialist designations. The information you obtain on this podcast is not, nor is it intended to be legal advice. You should contact an attorney for advice regarding your individual situation. We invite you to contact us and welcome your calls, letters, and electronic mail. Contacting us does not create an attorney-client relationship. Please do not send any confidential information to us until such time as an attorney-client relationship has been established. And finally, past results afford no guarantee of future results, and every case is different and must be judged on its own merits.
Kirk Stange is responsible for the content. Principal place of business, 120 South Central Avenue, Suite 450, Clayton, Missouri, 63105.
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.